Hello, everybody. I'm just cross posting to all the different social media channels that um, I need to post to, like Pen Addict Slack, BYOB Discord, little old Instagram. So just bear with me while I do that real quick. I just got Instagram left, and then I will be with you shortly. Also, shout out to Big Llama on Twitch for the follow that apparently happened a couple hours ago. Thank you. Okay, cool. Cool, 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 cool. I'm gonna switch my little board. Excellent. Oh, look at all the people that are watching. Thank you, people. I appreciate that. And it's across different platforms, so it works. So FYI, I'm using a restreaming software, which means I'm broadcasting to one spot and it's rebroadcasting out to several different, to both YouTube and Twitch. So it's all the same stream. And if you're watching, like if one of you is watching on Twitch and one of you is watching on YouTube, the chat screen that you see on the window actually will integrate the chat from both places so you can chat across platforms. But yeah, cool. So today I'm gonna grab my handy dandy notebooks. So I've got a list of inks so far that I want to review. Or like these are inks I have bottles of that I think need some more love. Yo, hey Rowell. And so yesterday, I did the reviews of Spanish Blue, KWC Grapefruit, so I'm just gonna work my way down the list and see what I get to before I decide, cool. So let me grab what's Aurora. So Aurora's a fun one because I got this in one of those like applesauce pouches that Aurora or Callifolio has. And then I actually almost used up. Its last dregs of the ink are still in the pen, but my bottle of Private Reserve Shoreline Gold, so this is actually that bottle, so I could rebottle it. Yeah. And swirling around. Here is, I've got this like whole big desk configuration. Yay! Happy that you're here, Christine. I'm just like messing with all the different stuff. I'm trying to figure out what time is best for people to see the stream because it's more fun for me if people are actually watching. And so I've been trying a bunch of different times to see what works best. This time, which is apparently like people are at the end of the workday or maybe just gotten home and just chillaxing. Looks like I've gotten the most viewers I've seen in all the different times I've done stuff. So yeah, we're gonna fill. I should take a picture of my janky setup. So what happened was early this morning I woke up with a Brilliant because I wanted a better way to do top down because before I was clipped to my monitor and it was at a weird severe angle. But so what I did is I was like, well, what I need is a like $50 webcam and the associated like $20 boom arm. But I have a $20 webcam and a $5 janky little tripod thing. That's not even for that. That's for smartphones. And I have lots of stuff. So that's what I did. It is sketchy as hell, the thing I've rigged up. It's 4 textbooks and then some sort of like decorated wine bottle that I think is supposed to be a candle holder. And then I've stuck the tripod like in that, and then it's stupid. You know, the interaction is a little weird. I mean, it's fine if you look at the chat on the screen, but like the chat window in each of the individual programs is like, it's weird because you're typing to no one, but you're typing to someone at the same time. Is very strange. Honestly, so why did I cap this? So when I bought, so my phone camera has been kaput for almost a year now, so I don't like live stream from my phone. Plus, I like the webcam capability because that allows you to plug in a fancy software. At least for like Twitch and YouTube, to allow me to, for example, throw this chat up on the screen, and I have that little jar in the corner, and I have text on the screen. And it also allows me to have a more permanent setup. If you notice I have washi tape everywhere, it's like, I'm using it like blocking tape to block out my field of view. Like I have this outline to show me where the comments box is, so I don't like do stuff underneath the comments. That doesn't help. And this is it's above the comments box, but it's dark, so I guess you could put something there if you really wanted to. And then this is the line if I'm doing something up here, because it's still a little bit at an angle, I need to really put it above there to be centered. Oh yeah, no, I saw this in 2015 and was like, I need it, and then I bought it. And I feel like it's underappreciated. Like, everyone who sees it in person is like, damn, it's pretty, but it just, like, went under the radar in terms of, like, pen hype. And I think it's just because it's Waterman, and there's not a lot of pen hype around Waterman. I don't know. But I thought it was damn pretty, so I bought it. I didn't. They released it in 4 models. The ones that I thought were pretty were the Hemisphere and the Karen. Karens are stupid expensive, and the Hemisphere was the least expensive, so I was like, go me. Yep, I'm gonna put this in over here where you can't. I have a big, like, U-shaped desk configuration. Oh, that was convenient. I just happened to slide it open, so I have. That's my swab. It's a. If you remember that BYOB episode where we were talking about coral inks for Michael, this is the one I suggested. Huh. Try, Michelle, I don't know if you could try full screening the chat, because I know the chat window is a little tiny. Like if you're on a phone or something. But it's just, I didn't want to block the whole screen. Oh, wow. Good deal on that. So yeah, so I've got everything inked. What I need now is, I need to actually decide, well, no, I'm going to finish copying the article. What I've been doing for my writing samples is I've been basically copying articles out of the local newspaper, so the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Double rebel. This is fun. What was it? The other day when I was setting this up, I was literally talking to myself back and forth between Twitch and YouTube across both channels. It was funny. I was like, I'm over here. I'm over here. And no, I'm over here. It's funny. I've noticed that when doing that, Twitch has more of a delay when sending the chat messages than YouTube does. It's not by much, but it was noticeable to me because I was paying attention. Actually, Evgeny mentioned it, because, what was it? Ink Dependence Mike was, kind of, like, mulling about the idea of, oh, if I could bring in, like, guests or something on his Friday live stream. I bet he didn't know how to do that, and Evgeny popped in and, like, spouted a bunch of technical information. And I was like, oh, I'm also minorly interested in doing that. And so I checked out all the bunch of stuff he linked. And one of them was this website, restream.io, which I didn't see how it would help me with the actual, like, getting a guest in. But I saw the service was explicitly so you could send your feed there and it'll rebroadcast out to whatever, like, streaming services you connect. And then that way it's all in one. And I was like, that is what I want because I've been toggling between YouTube and Twitch and I want to send to both because I know I have different audiences in both. The like 4 people in either that I watch. And so they are distinct audiences. So I'm like, okay, let's bring it all together. I need my phone so I can find that article. I don't like Instagram Live because it's only on the phone, speaking of, and I don't know, I'm probably biased because my phone camera's been dead, so I have been able to do it, but also, like, you can't watch it on a computer, you can only watch it on your phone. Like, I like the flexibility that both Twitch and YouTube offer in that, like, it can save the video for more than 24 hours. Like Twitch, you can export it to YouTube for longer term storage. And, like, I think that chat is better on both Twitch and YouTube. It's, like, integrated better with less lag. It's just, I like like Instagram Live is probably my least favorite live format. So you would think that I would have brought up this text that I was going to copy before I started the stream, and I was going to, and then I forgot and I hit the live button. Yeah, Periscope seemed to be a good one, and it just, but all the people that were using it just, I guess, jumped ship to Instagram Live, or just it was a fad. I don't know. And I think because Twitch has a long-established gamer community, and YouTube is YouTube, and so the live is more like only a thing that's being tacked on, versus it being the whole point of the platform, which I think that was probably Periscope's downfall, was that that was the only thing it had was live. Because even on Twitch, you can watch the archive videos, and I think that is different because it's a gamer community versus just straight up live. I don't know. Oh, come on, you can do it. I'm probably gonna have to bring this up on my computer and do it instead of my phone, because as much as I like subscribing to my local newspaper, its online technology is idiotic, but it's super expensive to subscribe to the print version, because I would have to get it delivered. So I'm just like, sure, I'll do the digital access. It's like the same as Netflix, but it's still just like, god damn, this is just terrible, terrible software, whatever they use. Honestly, I've only been poking around Twitch since Brad went on it, and at first I did the sign up because I was like, okay, sure, why not? I'll get more points in a giveaway. But then I started poking around and I'm like, you know what, I actually, in terms of just Twitch versus YouTube, I think Twitch has the live stream smoothness integrated better. It handles like drops and like funky internet and chat and stuff. I think all integrates better than in YouTube. It is smoother, but it is, in terms of what the content it provides, it is definitely very much heavily gamer focused. So I haven't found a lot of streams that I actually would want to watch. There we go. Cool. Now I'm going to actually start copying things down. The problem with this setup is that so right here is basically perpendicular to where my computer screen is. I'm not in front of my computer screen. And so I'm kind of like having to like whiplash over to look at the thing I'm copying. This is my first time actually live streaming trying this setup. And yeah, it's a little, we'll see. I might have to move this back to in front of the computer to have me not like give me neck aches. Okay. Should have. What I'm doing is I'm basically divvying up the page into thirds, and I'm gonna just write with each of the pens. And instead of, I don't have a, give me a second to get out. And I don't have a wide variety of nibs at my disposal because I've learned that I don't write with anything other than like fines or extra fines, but I have a variety of drynesses. So that's going to give me some variety. That can be the variety I exhibit inks in. And I think it almost makes a bigger difference whether you write with it in a dry or wet pen versus a broad or fine nib. So this is all still Callifolio Aurora. So right now, this is my basically dry pen. It is my Parker 45. It has a steel F nib. And so I'm just gonna copy stuff down. Yeah, it's one of those where it's like it really isn't conducive to phones because it's a lot of fine stuff. How do you spell attorney? I can never remember how to spell attorney. And so the problem is when you copy articles you think are interesting from the local paper and you're interested in politics and local government and stuff like that, you end up writing eternally a lot and it's frustrating. I can already tell you right now, this ink does not like dry pens. It is much like I would not ink this up in a dry pen. We'll see whether it can tolerate even just a regular flow pen or not. I think from my experience I have a lot of fine nibs, obviously, and the Parker 45 nibs I've found are definitely, like, I own two Parker 45s and they both are dry writers, so I think they're just dry writers. Um, which is fine, like, as long as you use the right ink in it, it writes lovely. It's just gotta be pickier about the ink you use than others. And of course you have the purple one, Christine. Why would you not have the purple one? I can never decide whether I want to post this pen or not. It depends on the day. And Christine, if you're wondering about reading all these, I will be posting them. So I'm basically starting a blog that's a keyword searchable Instagram archive. It's going to have the same picture and word to word ratio as your standard Instagram post, but just in something that is both Google searchable and keyword searchable. So I'm going to be posting all these scans to there, but it's going to be more like I'm going to schedule them out. So right now I'm just doing one of these a week because we'll see. I don't want to overburden myself and then I'll burn myself out and drop it because that's my track record with blogs. But that way, the goal of this isn't really to do a blog, it's to actually use all this paper I've accumulated and use my pens and inks more because I haven't used them as much since graduating, and also to get myself to actually read my local paper since I subscribe. And so I was like, well, as long as I'm doing these, I might as well like throw the scans up on the internet as a reference. Scrolling down. Yeah, so this ink is a lot better than just a regular flow pen. It just didn't agree with the dry pen at all. And so now onto the wet pen, which is my Custom Heritage 92. This thing is just a gusher. It's lovely. Oh, the corrupt judge spent money on luxurious stationery. It doesn't specify anything except gold seal letterhead, which that's not that luxurious depending on paper. I guess it sounds luxurious to readers. Yeah, so this was nice also in the wet writer. This is a trend I noticed with inks, less saturated inks that tend to not work well in the dry pens, is that they write well in the regular writers, but in wet pens they have a crispness around each of the letters that you don't see in just regular writing. You don't see nearly as much shading in the wet writer, though. You need to have a little bit less flow in order to see shading from this ink. No sheen. This isn't a sheener ink. So yeah, this is my creamed Hipponoto. So I got some Tomoe River in there. And then... Oh, I worked on that handwriting because when I first started TAing, I was stubborn and was like, I am going to, instead of grading on the papers and writing my comments in Microsoft Word, I am going to print them all out and write them all by hand because stationery nerd. But then my students were like, I can't read your handwriting. So instead of like just switching to the computer like a normal person, I was like, I'll improve my handwriting. And so I did. This is my only Callifolio, actually. Yeah, I know. I'm just remembering that Scott Pruitt story where everyone was, well, when I say everyone, I mean the internet was outraged that he spent so much on pens, and then all of us were like, did the math, and we're like, oh, he actually got a deal. That's a non-story. Like, and he didn't actually spend that much. So I found that this pen, when it has an ink that is a little too dry for it, behaves better on the Kikuyo paper than the Tomoe River, which I don't quite get, but sure. Kikuyo, I find, I'm using this as my stand-in for like good, but not like the like cream of the crop paper, so more comparable to your like Lloydstrom or like Write Notepads or something. It's like middling ground. It's not overly coated like Rhodia. So I don't know. I'm laughing at this judge ordering 3 glass Flame of Excellence sculptures. Like, what is this bullshit, City of Atlanta? Okay, that's a bit much, even for stationery. Over 4 grand? For a municipal city court? Like, it's one thing for the federal government to have to spend that because they have diplomatic relations. But a municipal court? Someone had fun digging through this budget. $870 in beverage napkins for a party. Flame of Excellence for the former mayor whose entire cabinet and budget and everything is now being like turned upside down, being like, what the fuck did he spend all this money on? Like, this is only one article in a string of like, the new mayor is just like literally fired the entire city council because of corruption. Hmm. Let that dry. I don't even know if it's by hand. They don't specify. All I know is I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, yes, clearly I am. Where did. There it is. The rodeo pad is hiding under the field notes. Like, clearly, I know, like, I spend absurd amounts of money on stationery, but I'm like, that's a lot. So then all these plus the coloring and comparison swaps will be scanned and go up on the blog eventually. But now I'm gonna switch inks. That means I gotta clean this, which I just said in a very sing-song voice. Well, I also gotta empty the pens. I'm gonna move the coloring card because I don't want to spray ink all over that. That would be not good. Ooh, I got a little thing. Someone followed me, but I missed the little alert because I had the article up over top of that part of the screen. So thank you whoever followed me. That is a Lumberry from Pokemon. It heals all your status problems. But now I know that it works, which I was wondering because I haven't actually had the chance to test it. Well, I mean, like, I could test it with the internal software, but I wasn't sure if, because I had it set to the restream, not the YouTube, like, clearly the chat all flows in there, but I wasn't sure if that applied to the other stuff as well, but apparently it does. So thank you for testing that for me. And now I got a Lumberry in my little cup. Put this back on my shelf. And gathering. Okay. So we got Yield Towel, which already has like ink stains on it. I only see the one. It's basically just a little widget thing that does things on the screen when people like follow me and stuff. I thought it was fun. That's the only thing. Well, no, it would both be YouTube because Revel already follows me on Twitch, so that wouldn't have triggered the thing. So, I don't know. So you both did. So maybe it was just two. Maybe there are two floating around in there. I didn't see both the alerts. Who knows? I'm gonna go, what I usually do is rinse the nibs under the sink real quick first to get the excess off, so I'll be right back. I'm gonna go do that real quick. also brought back an Aqua. Say hi, Aqua. She's very confused and very loud. Do you want to go on my head? There we are. Aqua might make more interruptions and be loud. Ow, that was my ear. Did you really have to chirp directly into it? She did. This was very necessary. It's part of the reason I also chose these pens is because they're real easy. Can you shush a little bit? No, you're just going to be loud? You're just going to be loud? Okay. Do you want to go in the blanket? Is that what you want? Aqua has discovered that my winter blanket is amazing, and she's monopolized it, so I can't put it away for the summer, because then she'd get mad at me. So she's now, it's still on my bed, it's smooshed in a corner, and I don't actually sleep with it because it's summer in Atlanta, and now she's underneath it and having a nap, because that's apparently all she wanted. But yeah, so part of the reason I also chose these pens is because they're easy to clean. Like, this might be a piston filler, but I can just take the nib and feed out. And this is why. And unlike Brad Dowdy, who, when I watched him clean pens on a live stream, was just like, just reuse the dirty water. I'm like, no, that's counterproductive. You dump it out, you just have multiple bowls. It's not that hard. Yeah, he was like, oh yeah, this filthy, like, brown water. You can just keep reusing it to flush things. Aqua, you're back out. Aqua's being naughty. What? Are you gonna behave? I don't believe you. She's like, I'm gonna behave for me. I'm gonna go put her back in her cage. No, she's good. I don't really the AC is set to like 83. So it's definitely not too cold to her for her. Cuz I'm a hot weather person. She just likes the comfy spot for a nap. It blocks out the light really well. I think that's why she likes it for nap time. And it's also very fluffy. I'm a hot weather person. Like, I wasn't kidding, what was it, on Discord a couple days ago, a week or so, when I think it was Phil that was like, you know it's bad when 78 feels like AC, and I'm like, 78 is AC. 78 is me blasting the AC, because I normally have it set in the 80s. This is what living in the South will do for you. I mean, it actually makes sense down here because your body does get acclimated to the heat. It's brutal at first, but after a bit, your body gets acclimated, and it's better to have less temperature difference between the outside and inside because your body's not going like haywire. That was one thing that was horrible about Miami, was that they would blast the AC in all the like classroom buildings and university owned buildings, and it was just like you had to, my one friend would wear jeans and a tank top and pack a sweater in her bag so that way she wouldn't freeze inside but wouldn't completely boil outside. But yeah, it was real bad in the lab, especially the second office I was in, because, you know, grad students get moved around. Like, oh my god, it was frigid. It was so bad. Like, I was cold in there even in the winter when, like, the heat was on. And, like, I was dressed warmly. It was still cold. That's how bad it was. The problem was that the actual office didn't have any windows, but the hallway that it was off of was along just like a totally like window wall, and that's where the thermostat was. So the thermostat was getting like full greenhouse effect, but then blasting AC into this windowless office. And like even if we opened the door, it only helped somewhat, and then it would just invite in people to come chat and distract us. I mean, so I do know how to deal with cold. I mean, I did grow up north, but I would need a season or two to a year or two to reacclimate, just because I've spent the last basically 10 years in Miami or Atlanta. So my cold sense is shot. Just completely and utterly. Mm-hmm. Cool. So then I'm good to fill up for the next one. I mean, so that's actually what I keep my apartment at in the winter. So because I'm cheap, like I keep it closer to what it is outside. And so that's about actually what I keep the house at in the winter. And that's what I grew up with. I just haven't really experienced real winter in a minute because Atlanta, you get a dusting of snow and everyone freaks out. They're like, it's the apocalypse. Cool. Okie dokie. Well, yeah, that's why I have the fuzzy blanket. And then I knit, so I have lots of like sweaters and stuff. Like, I'm equipped, I'm just not acclimated, if that makes sense. So now I'm doing Montblanc Oyster Gray. a very nice gray. I feel very fancy for owning a Montblanc ink, even though, like, their inks are actually, well, some of their inks are reasonably priced. This is just one of their standard ones. And I was like, I only have one gray. I need to branch out into my grays. I do like it. I still think I like Kirasami better as a gray. But this is, Kirasami is a very warm gray that has hints of pink. This one is a more standard gray. Yeah, but Montblanc's just like basic inks. Like, their just basic line of colors are really good. Like, I really like, I keep meaning to pick up a bottle of Toffee Brown. I've heard their purple's really good. I want to get a sample of that. I don't know if Montblanc allows sampling. Who knows? Montblanc is weird. The bottle's weird, though. I don't like the bottle because it's just so long. It's weird for, like, just to store on my shelf. Just the way I have my inks stored. Yeah, so just here's the comparison between Kirasami and Oyster Gray. You can see Kirasami is a lot warmer. It has that pink. Versus Oyster Gray is a little steelier. The Psycho Purple. Yeah, Montblanc Lavender, I think that's the one that I've been meaning to give a try to. I'm still laughing at the Psycho Lavender. The Euro one I can see is being very polarizing because it does have that pink hint into it. I really like that, but I can see it turning people off. I think there's another Iro Shizuku gray that other people like. They have the one I have, which is the rosier one, and then they have a like more gray. There's the pencil. Ooh, I don't even know. Montblanc is weird with their inks. I just don't like their standard ones. Okay, that makes sense. But all like the special ones, I'm like, Swan Illusion did look nice because it was a gray with a hint of green, which is something I really like, but not that much. Not to pay that much for it. Yeah, this one's not quite as dry as the Callifolio, but it's pretty dry. It's not, I wouldn't put this in a dry pen again. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to keep track of all the different Japanese names for things. Okay, I take back. This is actually I'm less pleasant than the Califolio. Um, like it's one of those that's dry and light enough that's makes me want to press harder to get more ink flow, which I don't like. At least in the dry pen. And see, this just like feels like completely different ink in this, in like regular flow pen. It looks like a completely different ink too. Like, I'm pretty much broken of it, but like sometimes you'll get a dry ink and a dry pen that just it doesn't match. And so I find myself trying to press harder to get more flow out, and that's a sign to myself to empty this ink out of this pen. This is not a good pairing. So what's weird about this ink in this pen is that when it's going down wet, it looks like Kirasami. Like it has a pinkish tinge, but as it dries, that pink tinge goes away. And it becomes like it looks dry. It's like a little mind boggling. Let's see if it does the same thing with the wet pen. Yep, does the same thing with wet pen. This is just strange. Though it looks like it's actually keeping a little bit more of the pinker property in the wetter pen. Yeah, this is one of those inks that just like the color changes drastically depending on how wet of a pen you use. Like you can just see it going down the page. It's just like Cloud can barely read it. Okay, tolerable. Like then dark is like almost business acceptable. It's dark enough. It's just strange. Mm-hmm. Again, dry ink behaves better in the 45 on the Kikuyo. Don't know why. Yeah, this one's definitely by far best on a wet nib. It just is so much more readable. Um, and you actually probably have an equivalent amount of shading between like a regular flow and a wet flow. It's just much more crisp in a wet nib, and it performs much better. Yeah, just look at that. It's just so much more crisp. Like barely see it in the dry one. Okay, so now we're gonna clean pens again. Here. Gonna go refill this and rinse off these guys, and I'll be right back. depends. Like I said, I think it more depends on how wet the nib is rather than how broad it is. Because if it's a broad nib but it's still dry, it's going to look light. Versus if it's a wet broad nib, it's going to look darker. Like I really think that the wetness of the nib has a lot more to do with how ink appears on the page than the actual nib width. Like the nib width is gonna like make your line fatter or whatnot, and is gonna influence how much of that ink you actually see. But like in terms of like the characteristics of how it appears on the page, that's gonna be more the wetness. Oh, yeah, then that would look luscious then probably in that one then. Forgot you sent that off to Masayama. And it's probably gorgeous. Yeah, because I remember you were disappointed in the C-nib. You were like, it's right and funky, I'm not quite sure. And then Masayama was like, let me make it good for you. And now it's just like a thing of beauty. Because that's what Masayama does. Hell, I haven't had Masayama tune anything, but I've had Mark Bacchus tune something. Because he's a member of the local pen club here in Atlanta. Yeah, I had found a Lady Schaefer for real cheap in the Baltimore Pen Show, and the nib was a little funky. Like I couldn't quite tell what was wrong, but I could tell something was wrong with it. And I handed it to him. He looked at it for about 30 seconds, did something with his fingers tweaking it, and it was fixed magically. And I was like, "How much do I owe you?" And he was like, "Oh, nothing." And I was like, "Wait, really? You just made it work in like 2 minutes. I should pay you for that skill." Oh, I love Mark Bacchus. He's just like, well, one also because he's been pretty instrumental in helping the local pen club technology. Like, the local pen club's hearts are really in it. Like, they really want to recruit new, younger members. They're really enthusiastic. Like, when I showed up, I showed up and like I extended them an invitation to another local pen meetup we had, and they were like super enthusiastic. And the president was like, drove down from Chattanooga, which is like a 3 hour drive away, for this like 2 hour pen meeting, and it was just like, and he remembered everyone there at the Atlanta Pen Show and like asked how we like. They are just super enthusiastic about wanting to get new and young people in. They just don't know how to technology. And so Mark is helping with that. Yeah, it's like Mark has just basically been single-handedly help the Atlanta area old guard technology, because he also helped the Atlanta Pen Show people like set up a far more functional website. Like, oh my god. The old website was so bad. The oldest website was bad, but it was better than most pen show websites. And now it's even better. It's like, yay! But yeah. It's a process. Yeah, Mark's a wizard. He really is. We're really lucky to have him here in the area. He's like the one on call for our local pen shop. Like, the pen shop is They have a great selection of paper and refills, but the actual staff there is, you have to prove yourself to them over and over and over again. And their ink selection is blah. And that's what I would want to buy in person, is ink. So, but they have Mark Bacchus on call. Yes, use those powers for good to make pen clubs technology. That's a thing that is needed. Okay, last one for today. Noodler's Violet. Which, Christine, do you have this one? Because it is purple. I've wondered. Yep, no fungus in there. I just always check. I don't know if the purple and violet are the same. They might be different, knowing Nathan. Because some people do define them differently. Because I want to say purple tends to lean more blue and violet tends to lean more red. But don't quote me on that. Because this is just their basic, lineup. So yeah, I don't know. I understand you saying purple instead of violet just because, I don't know, I instinctively think of the color as purple rather than violet too, but it says, I always just remember it's violet because I was on a hunt for this particular shade of purple I had in my head for a while, and this is the one that came closest by far. And because I dealt with so many different purples, including Noodler's purples, I just didn't remember that this one was called Violet. So yeah, this will help. So it's more red. It's close to Diamond Purple Pizzazz, but without the shimmer, is what I would say it's closest to. And it's slightly more red. I should send you a sample of this one then, because I'm like, I know you are Purple Queen, and so I should help flesh out your collection, because it is only correct that you should have all the purple. back to copying stuff about corrupt judges. So excited. I'm just kind of going now, like, finally, because this is actually, after the last two inks, which were dry, and it was not fun to write with them in the dry pen, this one is lovely and is flowing beautifully. Dogs, watchdogs, words. I have no idea. I assume it's a considered vintage, because this isn't a fantasy 45. This is a legit 45. They did make them with the all color caps. They're just harder to find. So as far as I know, everything is original in here. So it does count as vintage. No idea though. People's definitions of like what is vintage versus just like old, like what's the line we're across is that it's considered vintage. I'm like, I don't know. If I can only find it by browsing at a pen show at like the trays, I tend to consider it vintage. Well, also, the 45 is a cartridge converter system, so I'm not nearly as worried about it, like, exploding the insides of my pens. I'd be a little more nervous to put this in, like, my Shaper Tucky, which is a celluloid back. Honestly, like, I only don't put the inks that I know have weird properties in vintage. Like, I wouldn't put Noodler's black in vintage because that's a bulletproof, and I know that could cause problems. But it's still a good black. It probably wouldn't cause problems. Hell, I put Rouge Hematite in my Lady Patricia, which is from like the 1930s, and it handled it like a champ. The part that disintegrated was the cap. The rest of it was fine. yeah, this is lovely in a regular writer. I expected it to be. If it writes lovely in a dry pen, it normally is fine and writes well all around. This is a no-nonsense ink, though. You're not going to get shading. You're not going to get sheen. Just purple. Which for some people is a turn-off, but sometimes you just want a plain old ink. A nice, good base color. And this is a time where maybe you don't want a super wet pen because this is coming out so dark that it looks almost black, which could be advantageous in a work environment. Yeah, this is coming out like almost black in the really wet pen. Um, which if that's what you want, if you want to like sneak a purple into your workplace environment, go for it. Jesus. This is just going on worse and worse. The article, like, apparently this judge is being, like, incorporated in all sorts of probes and spending scandals, and then, of course, the attorney that's defending her against this probe is just like, I'm gonna bill the city for my services defending her. Please give me $30,000. It's like, what? What? Jeez. The person who authorized this attorney to be hired and, I guess, oh yes, you can bill us, is a former city attorney of the city of Atlanta who left the city last month. It doesn't say why he left last month, but, like, someone who pieced it is the one who authorized this. Holy crap. Being hired at $600 an hour. What the hell? Jeez, I would love to be paid $600 an hour. That means that I would make, I could work for a day and make more than double what my grad student salary was. Hey! Jesus. Okay. So that's just about gonna do it for us, folks. The sun is kind of at that point in the sky where it's getting kind of dark in the room where the camera isn't really picking up a lot. Well, it is, but it's not the greatest. So thanks for hanging out with me. I enjoyed this. Also being outraged at how ridiculous city politics can be. Like I said, the mayor kicked the entire city council out like 2 months ago, or at least asked them all to resign because it came out that like every single one of them had taken like multiple bribes. It was just like, what? What? Yeah, so, yep, go eat dinner. I should probably eat dinner too. It's after 8 p.m. Yeah, thanks for hanging out with me, and I will see you later. You can look for these reviews we'll post on the blog eventually. The blog is at the link up there. That actually points you, it's to a bunch of different links, so you can there find links to my knitting patterns, Etsy shop, blog, etc. It's just one, instead of throwing it all up there, I just throw the one. Okay. Yep. Thanks for hanging out, guys. Now I need to find the correct window to end this stream. There it is. Bye. Bye.